Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
And today we are talking about all of the necessary requirements either a writer or a publishing professional will need to enter this wonderful industry of ours. So we're going to split the video into two, and we'll start with writers and what kind of training or education a writer might need, and then we can go to publishing professionals. So the easiest way to say it is I just had this conversation yesterday when someone's like, I really want to write, but I don't want to take the writing classes. I'm like, you don't need them. You just have to write.
There are plenty of people who are incredibly successfully published who have never taken a writing class in their entire life, and plenty of others who still don't know where to put a comma.
Actually, I'm apostrophes your commas. Like, I am horrible with apostrophes.
I am really apostrophes?
Every time, like, people will always correct me. It's it apostrophe s. Like, I never put the apostrophe.
Oh yeah, the it's and it's I can screw up a lot.
Yeah, my own name ends with an S, so I put the apostrophe in the wrong. Like, I don't include it, and then I do include it. I'm like, when do you put the damn apostrophe?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, there's a lot of advice that, like, you have to have an MFA or you have to have taken writing classes, and I think that's a load of crap. The best education in writing is simply writing and getting feedback and criticism from your fellow writers.
Yeah, in fact, I think that sometimes, it's going to get me in trouble, but I think sometimes the academic degrees can stunt you a little bit, and I've seen that sometimes where writers are told about so many writing rules that they lose the ability to truly just be creative in their writing.
Right.
I'm not, if you are one of those people who loves to go back to school and wants to take writing classes, whether it's in a college setting or, there are a lot of sort of organizations that do workshops and things like that, I would definitely encourage you to do that, because sometimes it's just being around other people that can make all of the difference. But, if you can't afford it, if, like me, you're not a big fan of sitting in a classroom, then don't bother,
But like you said, though, like, when we are paying for an education, we kind of put a lot of stock in that education.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that will always stick out to me, and I will not name names, although I would love to name names, but my college, my undergrad writing professor refused to let us use the word said. You could not use the word said in her class. And I thought, frankly, this is the worst advice I've ever heard. How many books? I can pick off any book on my shelf. The word said is all throughout it.
Right.
Well, you were not allowed to use the word said. And it does something to your writing to completely take said out. Like, it just overcomplicates things in some areas. And if that's the kind of advice a teacher that you're paying for the education is giving you and that you're putting all your stock into, it can really shape your writing in a way that's maybe not natural to you, maybe becomes a little too complicated, or maybe even takes the fun out of it for you. And I think that's the issue with writing education.
Yeah.
So you have to know whether it's for you, and you also have to put your stock in the right advice.
Well, the flip side to that is I was a journalism major.
Oh.
So I was taught that the word that is the one you never want to use.
That's not good, because I use that all the time.
I feel like that has stuck with me. I mean, it's not that I never use it, but that has stuck with me. And I feel that it does make me a better writer, that I avoid that word.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Like the filler words, we are always talking about filler words.
Yes.
I have a lot of them. I mean, everybody uses just.
I hate that word.
Right. Everybody uses very to, like, modify their adjectives and all of those things that, kind of could get beaten out of us a little bit. I use I think in every sentence. Every sentence I write starts with I think. And I'm trying to scale that back. But I think that, look, but there is, again, when you're going to school, there's that level of absorbing everything, and then it just becomes your writing. Yeah. So you don't necessarily need it. You just have to practice and put your words on paper and find your voice, and then you hone your craft from there.
Exactly. So what about a publishing career?
Yeah, this is the one that's very interesting because you can come at publishing from really any degree, any So most publishing jobs will have the requirement of a bachelor's degree, though I know that you don't necessarily look for a bachelor's degree. But if you're applying to like publishing houses, they will mostly have that bachelor's degree requirement.
I think that 95% of any publishing job that you're going to apply to is going to expect or want you to have a college education. I don't. I've actually never really thought of it, and I don't even really look at the education on the resume. That's not my thing. But I do know that that's probably rare.
Yeah, and a bachelor's degree is typically required, but that could be really in anything. You and I have two different. You're in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in English. And I know Amanda Jan has it in history.
Yeah.
So you can.
Yeah, I was just going to say a lot of people have it in history. I think majority of publishing professionals have it in England. Yeah. England. I mean, English, wherever they got their degree, it doesn't matter. But that is definitely not a requirement. And yeah, there are people of communications and history and political science. I mean, I guess most of the degrees, the bachelor degrees, tend towards arts and humanities.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that there aren't, people with business degrees and engineering degrees and things like that doing publishing. I just don't think it matters.
What does matter is probably an unofficial requirement is that you're well-read and that you're sort of immersed in today's market.
Yeah, that's it. And you have your master's.
Yeah, I do have my master's, and it's funny because throughout my master's degree, I'm going to tell the story. You told me ample times, you don't have to do this. You are kind of wasting your money here. And I'm not going to disagree. I think that insofar as publishing, it did not give me anything extra. It gave me that master's degree that I wanted. And if you want it, I suggest going for it. Definitely do it. But in publishing, it's not a requirement. It's not something that will, get you a raise or get you a boost in the industry, nothing like that. There's no, beyond a bachelor's degree, there's no level of education that can sort of unlock higher publishing. It's just experience.
Yeah, I think that sometimes those degrees can help you make the contacts. For example, I even say this about a bachelor's degree, that for me personally, my view of education and higher education is that the most important thing you get out of it aren't the classes you take, but it's the extracurricular and the contacts you make. Yeah. And a lot of times the people teaching the classes at the major publishing, master's publishing programs are publishing professionals. So you are making those contacts. However, I have heard some stories about some of things people have learned in those master's programs that have really made me think,
Well, that's the thing about publishing. Like, you can get all the education you want. You can hear secondhand stories all you want. You don't actually learn things until you are in the middle of things. And you are, every situation is different. That's something we've been talking about a lot, how every situation will require a different set of skills and different strategy and a different experience that you may have had that you call on again. So really the best education in publishing is experience in publishing, be it an internship or assistant job or wherever.
Absolutely. And I've heard some weird stories about things that non-publishing people have told those seeking entry-level positions about what they need to do. And they come to me and I'm like,
right.
No, that's not the way it works.
Yeah, when we're looking for an intern, I really, it's the cover letter for me. You can have all the education, you can go to Harvard, you can do all of those things. I want to know in your cover letter what you're reading. I want to know what you think you can bring to publishing that maybe we don't have at our company or any company. Those are the things that I'm looking for, showing that you have a knowledge in what publishing is, because what people think it is and what it actually is often very different.
No, you're 100% right, because when I look at your cover letter, I think every job seeker in publishing should include at least the 3 most recent books they've read in their cover letter. And if it looks to me like the 3 most recent books you've read were assigned from your English reading class, that's not of interest to me.
Right. They should not be Jane Austen. They should be something that was published preferably within the last 3 years, I would say.
Yeah, and they should also, what you need to understand, and I guess you can't always control this, but what I'm looking for and what anybody who's hiring, let's say somebody at an assistant level is looking for, is a connection. So if you're sending me a reading list that are 3 science fiction fantasy books and I'm hiring for myself, we're not a good fit because I don't represent science fiction and fantasy. Doesn't mean you can't and shouldn't read those books. It just means that I'm going to look at that and think, well, if I want you to work with me, I don't represent that genre. I think we're going to have a miss in how you can help me with certain things.
Right. And knowing what that company is doing, like you and I have very similar reading tastes.
Yeah.
And even when I was an intern, I did a lot of work on your projects.
Yeah.
So we kind of, our tastes and what we know of the genres and how we even edit is very similar.
Yeah.
But if somebody, like you said, with science fiction is applying to you, it wouldn't make the most sense. So knowing what the company that you're applying to is doing will go a long way in how you sort of present yourself and craft yourself.
Yeah. And really like taking some time, like, if you do want to know how you can sort of better yourself or learn more, but you don't want to go back to school because you don't have to, learn more by looking at industry things online, this YouTube channel.
Publishers Weekly.
Yeah, Publishers Marketplace, blogs. There's so much out there that agents and editors, there's so much content that agents and editors are putting out that can really give you information and insight, and then just read. And really read what you love. You don't have to read everything, but read what's happening now and understanding what the market is. Publishing now is going to make a huge difference because anything even published 10 years ago is going to be difficult to see you as somebody who can do things today.
Well, we hope that was helpful if you're looking to either break into publishing as a writer or as a literary agent, editor, whatever it might be. If you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to put them in the comment section below. We'll go through and answer them. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.